I'm talking today with George Theo, CEO of Unitywater, about innovation and making change. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about your work in driving diversity in your organisation. Was there an aha moment when, in a very male-dominated industry, you suddenly scratched your head and thought, why is it so?
Yeah. Look, the aha moment for me came about 20 years ago. And then a few years later, I was in a position to do something about that aha moment as one is promoted in an organisation and is in a position of influence. So for me, the aha moment was when I had daughters. And I started to reflect about the workplace that they're going to enter and what opportunity are they going to have. And then I started reflecting about the workplace that I was working in and observing what was happening in the workplace I was working in at the time. And I thought, there are a number of things going on which don't feel quite right, don't look quite right, and need to change. And as I said, as I was promoted and my career took off and was in a position of influence, I thought, now's the time to do something about it.
One of the things you were saying that you noticed was a tendency for people to hire in their own image, such that you felt, is this right, that you could almost predict who was going to be hired if you knew who was doing the hiring?
Yeah.
Describe that phenomenon.
Yeah, look, the diversity of hire, the diversity of having people with different experiences and coming from different sectors and backgrounds was almost too difficult for people to want to go through and manage that diversity, certainly when I entered the workplace many years ago. So people had a tendency to hire safe, if I could put it that way. And I use the word hiring their own image or hire mini-me's. So in the end, you walk through an organisation, you see a cluster of men, grey head maybe. You'll go into an admin area and it's all females, and you scratch your head and say, well, why is this the case? You go into the contact centre, females. Positions of influence and senior technical roles, males, and you go, well, why is this the case? Surely it doesn't need to be that way. And what opportunities are we therefore not making available to people of the female gender? What opportunities aren't we making available to people of a different cultural background?
And so how, as the boss, have you gone about driving change in a way that everybody can get on board?
So one of the things we spoke about with our people is to look at diversity of hire, and we all acknowledge and we all understood that diversity in the team is good for business, and we also recognise that we should reflect the community in which we operate within, with respect to the diversity that exists within our community. So, but it seems to be when we're going through this exercise, everyone acknowledged it and accepted it, but not in my backyard. Someone else can do it, and if everyone's thinking that way, where, look, it's not for me to do, if it's for someone else to do in the organisation, then nothing gets done. So we actually introduced diversity of hire targets, and we imposed a requirement on the hiring manager to be able to articulate how is this particular hire going to add to the diversity of your team. So if you were a team of predominantly females, then how's recruiting another female going to add to the diversity? Or if you were an engineering-based team which had 100% male participation, well, how is hiring another male going to add to the diversity? Now, maybe hiring a male under the age of 35 would add to the diversity. Hiring, a male with different background, different cultural experiences would add to the diversity, but so would also hiring a female. So forcing managers to actually clearly articulate how the diversity of hire will add to the outcomes we were looking to achieve as an organisation, forced them to think about how they would go about hiring individuals, and how that individual would actually add to the diversity mix that we were looking for.
And as CEO, honestly, what lengths are you prepared to go to keep millennials in the organisation when typically or anecdotally they don't want to work in the way that generations past want to work? They're happy to work, but not in the same way.
Yeah. Look, it's another challenge that we have where, again, we need to teach people that the younger people coming through may not want to work full time for you. They might want to work part time, and being able to job share is an option. And as an organisation and as senior managers within the organisation, we've got to be open to and flexible enough to be able to accommodate the fact that people have different needs. So, being able to attract younger people who may want to work differently to, traditionally how workers have operated, where they've come in Monday to Friday, work their 9 to 5. Some people might want to work part-time, remotely on occasions, and being open to that flexibility is really important because, if you're not, you're going to lose talent to other organisations.
So you've got accountability and you've got flexibility sanctioned from the top. Has it made a difference to the organisation?
It has, and one of the reasons that it's also made a difference is our board has been quite active in this space. So it's one thing to talk about diversity of hire, it's one thing to have targets in place, but our board actually sees our progress towards the outcomes we're looking to achieve. And our nomination and remuneration committee of board also has a look to see, are we actually doing what we say we're going to do? Are we actually broadening the diversity of experience and culture that we have within the organisation? Within individual managers' personal development plans, there is an aspect of diversity that forces them to think about what it is that they're doing. So originally, there may have been the will to do it, but we've also given them compelling reasons why they should do it because it actually reflects on their performance. So we've given them the how and the why they should be pursuing it.
And I mean, if we were to take those technical roles, which were traditionally older men, how has that changed as a result of this?
Well, it's changing. Last 3 months ago, we took an intake of graduates, and 3/4 of the graduates were females. And what we're finding is more females are in those STEM areas. So we're seeing females in the engineering sector more than we've ever had before. And I guess the challenge for us is to not only attract them to our organisation, but to keep them. We have a Unitywater scholarship program that we offer in conjunction with the University of the Sunshine Coast. And again, it's a 2-year program where we pay the tuition fees up to $10,000 for the last 2 years of our sponsorship winner. Not only does it allow us to attract talent, but it also puts us in contact with all those other students who participate in the process but weren't successful in the scholarship, but all of a sudden we've got a pool of about 50 people that are really interested in joining your organisation, and we're able to recruit from that pool. And as I said, we've got 20 people in the graduate program as we speak, and 3/4 are female.
Do you think being the son of Greek immigrants has made you more conscious of the need to be deliberative in building a diverse team of people?
Yeah, look, growing up, working class family, growing up in the inner suburbs of Collingwood in Melbourne, one of the things that I learned very early on is, be true to yourself, do the right thing, make sure people have opportunities, don't discriminate against anybody. We're all the same, and what I noticed, as I said earlier, in organisations, these inherent biases were formed, and sometimes it's unintentional. And there was one in my organisation which I stumbled across, and it was actually brought to my attention about 2 years ago, which we fixed immediately. And you think, and I'll share it with you in a moment, but you think back and you say, well, why did this exist? It doesn't make sense. But we had this rule that said that if you were away from work for 12 consecutive months on unpaid leave, and you were still away when we were doing salary reviews, you weren't entitled to a salary review. And at the time when this rule was made up, it may have been because someone's on a mid-career break, they're in Europe having a wonderful time, they've been away from the workplace for 14 months, therefore they're not entitled to a salary review. But what about if you're on maternity leave? And no one thought about that, and it was brought to my attention. I said, well, that's not right. So someone's raising a family, they're clearly away from work, and we're thanking them as a loyal employee by saying you can't have a pay increase at salary review time. So we fixed that immediately when it was brought to our attention. The good thing is it only affected just 1 or 2 individuals. But the notion of, you know, someone being on maternity leave and then being discriminated against because they're on maternity leave from having a salary review wasn't what was intended, but somehow that became a practice, and so we put an end to that.
On issues of innovation then, I'm interested to see that you've got this project to generate energy from waste. Now,
Yes.
This has been happening overseas for many years. At any point, Australian water utilities could have jumped on board with an investment to do that. There's environmental and economic reasons to do it. But why did Unitywater push the button on doing that?
It's a really interesting question. It's the compelling why, you know, and at the end of the day, we're here to serve a community, and, you know, we see, you know, I see and I read in the newspapers on a daily basis where cost of living pressures are becoming, you know, too great for individuals. And, you know, the compelling reason for us as to why we embarked on waste to energy and resource recovery initiatives is to actually keep the prices as low as possible for our customers. So it's about making sure that we can recover resources and create our own energy from our own sewage treatment plants to avoid buying energy from the grid, which allows us to keep prices down as low as possible to our customers. So the compelling way for us is to not increase price for our customers, and we're looking for initiatives that will achieve that outcome about not increasing price to our customers. So if we could generate what we need to run our sewage treatment plants through the resource that's already there, that traditionally has been seen as just waste and just flushed down the sewer into, you know, clean water into creeks, we're saying, well, hang on, there's got to be a better way. Now, this isn't necessarily new, but what's new for us is that we understand the reasons why we want to do it. So it's about reducing cost to our consumers. It's also good for the environment. So instead of having, you know, biosolids, which is sludge, being transported, you know, hundreds of kilometres at millions of dollars into landfill, if we're able to use that to generate electricity, if we're able to mix that with green waste and produce compost for people to come and use in their gardens, that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're working on.
Is it fair to say then, in all of this reform and innovation that you're looking at as a management team and at the board level, what's driving you is a responsiveness to community expectation?
Yeah, absolutely. What's driving me is the pensioner who every 90 days comes and pays his or her bill on time, every time. And in that process, they say to me, hey, you know, any chance you could, you know, keep the prices lower? Can you reduce prices? And, you know, I see people in the community who are battling to, you know, meet the cost of living, and as an organisation that provides vital services like water, which is, you know, you need for life. One of the things we want to make sure we do is we put ourselves in a position to keep the price of water as low as we possibly can. So that's what's motivating us. It's our customers who do the right thing by Unitywater, but also Unitywater wanting to do the right thing by its customers. So price is a huge driver. Environmental sustainability is a huge driver. And creating, you know, exciting projects for people within our organisation to be able to undertake that lead to things like, you know, resource recovery initiatives and waste to energy projects.
Wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.